Spongebob SquarePants. He's really a character who needs no introduction. I'm sure everybody in this video, heck, probably even their grandparents, are at least somewhat familiar with the show. It's a show about the titular character Spongebob, who lives in a pineapple under the sea. He often inadvertently causes trouble in Bikini Bottom with his best friend Patrick, and works with his neighbour Squidward at the local fast food joint, the Krusty Krab. It's been going on for 25 years now, and still going strong with no end in sight. But what if I told you that the show might indeed have a secret ending, one that nobody talks about? You may think I'm talking about the Season 7 episode, SpongeBob's Last Stand. Indeed, there have been claims that this episode was intended to be the series finale. It has a grandiose storyline that feels like it could conclude the series. SpongeBob and Patrick fighting to save Jellyfish Fields when a huge new motorway plows right through it. Mr. Krabs preparing to surrender the Krabby Patty secret formula to Plankton as he accepts bankruptcy. Everybody working together at the end to put a stop to the motorway and restore Bikini Bottom to the way it once was. It even has a pretty great song, Give Jellyfish Fields a Chance, a parody of the John Lennon song Give Peace a Chance. But despite the rumours that this episode was planned as a series finale, not helped by their 107 SpongeBob SquarePants Facts You Should Know video falsely declaring this to be true, this episode was never intended to be so at all. This can be evidenced by the fact that in production order, it sits right in the middle of Season 7. This was also made at the point when Nickelodeon decided SpongeBob would be their main mascot, at which time it was clear that they were never going to let the show end. And although the title, SpongeBob Last Stand, sounds pretty fitting for a finale, it's really just a reference to the 1936 movie Custer's Last Stand. There's also the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Canonically, it takes place right at the end of the series, with SpongeBob and Patrick aiming to prove to everyone that they're more than just kids, before realizing that they should embrace that childish side of theirs. And who could forget the iconic ending shot of SpongeBob jumping into the air as he's proclaimed manager of the Krusty Krab 2, right as the credits begin to roll and Ocean Man plays. But no, that's not what I'm talking about either. Although that movie was indeed intended to conclude the series, what if I told you that there's another episode in Season 3 that was intended to be the series finale? Something that was so obvious in hindsight that I'm honestly surprised that nobody else has really talked about this before. And now to reveal the episode I was actually talking about. It's time for the moment you've been waiting for! Okay, we don't really have time for that. The episode I'm referring to is the double-length special, The Sponge Who Can Fly. This is the episode where SpongeBob attempts to follow his dreams to fly, inventing inflatable pants in the process so he can fly with a jellyfish. There's also the subplot of Patchy the Pirate trying to find the lost episode of SpongeBob through a treasure hunt, and going through a mental breakdown thinking that SpongeBob betrayed him after watching a fake version of the lost episode. It makes sense in context, trust me. Anyway, it's the Patchy stuff that we're going to focus on in this video mostly. Now, at first glance, this episode just sounds like your average SpongeBob episode. Nothing about it really screams series finale. You may be wondering, what the heck are you talking about? I've seen this episode many times before. I saw nothing that indicates that. But things start to change when you begin to look at the episode more closely. As we begin the episode, we're informed that somebody at Nickelodeon Studios has discovered a never-before-seen episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, which was located under a work desk. We're then taken to the house of SpongeBob's #1 fan, Patchy the Pirate, but before we can watch the last episode, we're told that, ironically, he lost it, and that it's best that we forget about old SpongeBob. It's then that the Remembering SpongeBob sequence begins, where we're presented with a montage of different clips of various episodes over the past 3 seasons.
But it is! It's lost and I have no idea where it is, so it's best if you forget all about old SpongeBob. Remembering SpongeBob.
You may be thinking at this point, it's clearly a joke, who cares? But think closely. Some parts of this segment indicate it was meant to be more than just a joke. Firstly, why do they stretch out the segment for so long? All in all, it lasts a whole minute. And they could have easily done something silly with it, but besides the irony of remembering Spongebob right after being told to forget about him, there's really nothing else funny to note. If anything, it comes across as more of a celebration of the golden era of the series. Secondly, why is the music genuinely sad? It's possible that the sad music could have been part of a joke, if that's what they were going for, but to me, it feels like they intentionally chose this music as a means to say goodbye to Spongebob. Each time I watch it, this sequence usually makes me feel emotional. It doesn't really scream funny, but maybe that's just me at the end of the day. For my next point, and possibly the biggest indication that this episode was intended to serve as a series finale, we need to skip to the very end of the episode. As Patchy tries to rewatch the lost episode and gets caught up in a videotape, lamenting that the lost episode is now lost forever, we cut to the night sky as a SpongeBob constellation appears in the stars, and a French narrator tells us that, tape or no tape, as long as there are stars in the sky, SpongeBob will live on in our hearts and in our minds. In context, it seems like the French narrator could have been referring to the lost episode being destroyed. But why did he tell us that SpongeBob himself will live on in our hearts and minds, and not just the lost episode? It seems a bit of an odd thing to say in regards to a single episode being ruined. It's not as if that alone would have any effect on SpongeBob itself. To me, whenever I watch this scene, it's always felt as if the SpongeBob crew was saying goodbye to the fans, and that even if the show was over, SpongeBob himself would keep on living on through the fans who watch and enjoy the show. Listen closely to the footage and see what you think.
Oh, stop! Stop! Oh, a bastard! Infernal machine! Stop! Oh no! I've ruined the lost episode! Now it's lost forever!
Lost forever!
Oh boy, what a loser. Well, I guess the lost episode will remain lost. But tape or no tape, as long as there are stars in the sky, SpongeBob will live on in our hearts and in our minds. Now get lost. I mean, bye. No, really, get lost.
Now for my third point, I need to acknowledge the elephant in the room, because if I don't, it's likely that someone else will mention it in the comments. Yes, I am aware that The Sponge Who Could Fly is in production order, not the final episode of Season 3, or the classic era of SpongeBob. However, in production order, it is the penultimate episode. This doesn't necessarily disprove anything that I've said. Sometimes an episode's number will differ to when it was produced. For example, the episode Squeaky Boots was the second episode produced for Season 1, and yet it's episode 8B in the order you'll see it on official episode guides. Finally, do I think this episode acts as a good finale? Well, no, not really. I can see what they were probably going for, ending the show with a special episode. And although I think it's fine as a standalone special, the main SpongeBob part of the episode is nothing but ordinary. Some might even call it forgettable. This comes from the same era that brought us classics such as Chocolate with Nuts, Band Geeks, Krusty Krab training video, Dying for Pie. These episodes, I believe, don't just show the best of SpongeBob, but also the best of television as a whole. They're funny, they bring out the best of the characters, and even over 20 years later, people can still quote them as if they just watched them. Chocolate. I remember when he first invented chocolate. Sweet, sweet chocolate. I always hated it. Although this episode has 3 songs which I have to admit are pretty good, I challenge you to quote anything from this episode that doesn't come from the Patchy segments. Apart from the SpongeBob betrayed us moment, I can't really think of anything else that's laugh out loud funny. And it says a lot when the most memorable part of a SpongeBob episode doesn't even come from a SpongeBob part of the episode. The episode does kind of troll fans with the SpongeBob's walking cycle segment, and although some fans find that funny, Others find that quite annoying. I'm in the middle. I find it both funny and annoying, but not really laugh out loud funny. If you ask me, I think Band Geeks is the best spiritual finale. Not only is it hilarious with an epic song to boot, but it involves all of the main characters coming together and helping Squidward finally have his happy ending. If that ending shot of Squidward jumping in the air with happiness and triumph doesn't at least make you smile, I don't know what will. Now, I wanted to end this video talking about how I would end Spongebob if ever given the task. One post I've regularly seen online talks about ending the series with Spongebob finally receiving his boating license, Sandy making a groundbreaking scientific discovery, Patrick proving that mayonnaise really is an instrument, Squidward finally becoming famous, and Mr. Krabs giving a secret formula to Plankton. Now, besides maybe Spongebob receiving his license, I don't think there's anything else that really needs to be resolved. I mean, Mr. Krabs giving a formula to Plankton? Have you not seen the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? That doesn't even make any sense. I think what would work best is a special episode where every character gets to shine. Something that comes to mind is perhaps an episode where all the main characters have to take a journey inside SpongeBob's brain and relive some of the most iconic moments in the series in order to retrieve something from his memory. I know it's not the most original episode idea, but imagine getting to see the most iconic moments of the series together in one episode. That way, the show could end on a really high note, and it could be a giant love letter to Steven Hillenburg, the guy who made it all possible. SpongeBob isn't going to last forever, but it's also not going anywhere anytime soon. I really just hope that whenever it does end, it doesn't do so on a sour note, or on a whimper where nobody even sees it. Looking at you, Fairly Odd Parents. SpongeBob is a show that has impacted a lot of generations, and it would be such a shame if Nickelodeon doesn't end it in the way it deserves to end. I just wanted to say, if you made it to this part of the video, then thank you. I'm SpongeLear, and this was my first ever YouTube video essay. I'm an autistic trans girl, and I really love cartoons, and I wanted to make a channel where I could talk about both cartoons and autism. And this is going to be it. You're going to see videos where I make reviews on cartoons, talk about episodes, rewrite bad episodes, talk about neurodivergency, especially autism, and sometimes I'll delve into the world of live-action Nickelodeon and Disney shows too. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe too, and I'll see you guys next time.